Hey y'all, welcome to day 9 of my 30-day reflection series. I'm Shawn Aaron, he, him, his, and today I cannot wait to get into today's question. Today I'm talking about the rituals, routines, and sacred pauses that help keep me grounded. Because for me, mental health is not just a luxury, but it's a lifeline. So let's get into it. But first, before I start talking about today's question, I want to point out my shirt. So if you've noticed over the last few days, one day 1 through 8, and it will continue throughout the 30 days, I'll have on a new shirt. And so this shirt says, I am visible. This, if you know, I am Shawn Aaron, and I'm the founder and executive director of Them Boys Inc. And so Them Boys provides care and visibility to trans men of color. And so this is a part of our merch line. We partner with trans men of color within the community to create their interpretation of visibility equals possibility. And so at Them Boys, we believe that visibility equals possibility. And so we partner with folks and collaborate with artists and creatives to create using art their interpretation of what visibility equals possibility means to them. And so this particular design was designed by Zion. And so Zion was a guest on Them Boys podcast, episode 53, which I am a host of. And so this design was made specifically by him to in his interpretation of what visibility equals possibility means. And so if you would like to check out the merch, we have hats, we have cups, we have hoodies, we have other t-shirts, we have journals, we have a wide range of things to help support your visibility. And so you just click on the link below and it will take you to Them Boys website where you can check out the merch. All purchases of merch goes towards our gender affirming surgery grant fund. And so what we do is we provide financial assistance to trans men of color in order for them to obtain gender affirming surgeries. So let's get into today's topic. So what are your go-to practices for mental health or emotional grounding? This is a great question. This was a question that was asked of me by someone. And so I want to repeat that again. So, what are your go to practices for mental health or emotional grounding? And so it has taken me years to get to the point where I am in my life. And so before I said mental health for me is not just a luxury, right? A lot of times folks throw around that term mental health and I'm taking care of my mental health, or I'm doing this for me, but not really having grounded things that they do for their mental health. And so this is just a word that folks tend to throw around within community. But what are we actually doing to take care of our mental health? And so this is a really good question. And I hadn't really thought about it until this was asked of me. And so there are a couple of things that I do. And so I'm gonna dive deep into each one. But one of the things that I do the most, I think is one of the most important things that I do. And I talk about it all the time. I'm a strong advocate for it. I have therapy. That's the one first thing. The second thing is my physical fitness is what helps me take care of my mental health and taking care of my body and helps me feel good mentally. And another thing is journaling is something that I do to take care of my mental health and emotional grounding, and music and laughing. I love the last one, laughing. And so first, let's talk about therapy. So I've been in therapy now consistently on a weekly basis for, I believe, 2 years now. And so I had a mental health crisis and I was extremely depressed. I wasn't able to do much other than go to work. I didn't want to do anything. My work was lacking. I just wasn't mentally focused. I wasn't there. And so one of my friends at the time was like, yo, Shawn, you need to see a mental health service. You need to seek mental health services. And they gave me a recommendation. And that has been my therapist ever since. And so it has been game changing for me because I come from a line of verbal and physical abuse from when I was a child. I talked about this in a couple of days ago. And so I had some serious self doubt and some negative self talk about myself to where it had shaped how I behaved every day. And so it started to wear me down. And so I sought out mental health services. And so therapy has been a big part of my emotional grounding. And so, within my therapy sessions, my therapist works on nervous system work. And so, nervous system work is pretty much focusing on, I hope I get this right, but it's pretty much focusing on your body reacting to the things in your life and how to navigate those things, right? And how to so for instance, like if you were going on an interview and you were stressed and your nervous system was just stressed out, what are techniques and things that you can do to bring that peak of nervousness down, plateau it, and then bring it down? It's a natural thing that happens in your body, but you have to learn how to control it. You have to learn how to ground yourself in ways. And so I've found techniques and things to do to help me. And so I think that going to therapy has really shifted the trajectory of how I feel mentally, and it has really been a big help into my emotional grounding. And so it also allows me to touch on these other things because I now feel better. I won't say that I'm normal, because what is normal, right? I won't say that I'm better, but I am thriving in a way much more different than it was before when I didn't have therapy on a weekly basis. So my next thing that I go to take care of my mental health, and so sometimes people don't realize how important this is, and this only applies if it's something in your life that helps you with your mental health. And I've seen folks or heard folks say that the gym is their therapy, or the gym is their solitude, or the gym is, it helps them to process things. And so that's true for me. So the gym, being physically active, I should say, being in the gym, and taking care of my body is a big part of my personal journey towards mental health and emotional healing. Just being able to go in the gym. I don't work out with anybody, so I work out by myself. So going in the gym, knocking it out, throwing weights around, it also allows me to think and process. And it also ties into the one thing of music. I always got my earphones on, no matter where I am. And so all tying those two things together, it just helps jumpstart my day. It helps me clear out all the stress and negative things that I thought about the day before, and to take out all my frustrations or all of my nervousness or whatever it is that I may be feeling about the day, taking it out in the gym. And so the gym has been my fortress since when I first began the transition. And so it has continued on throughout all of these years. I transitioned in 2013. And so that has really helped me to maneuver in life in a way. And so you think, oh, the gym, Sean, that's easy. But I also have learned over the years. And so 2016, so I used to be a runner, and I was. And so I would run some days 8, 9 miles. I would run 2 miles, 3 miles, whatever. But in 2016, I logged over 500 running miles, and I literally kept track. And so from 2016, my body has never been the same. And so I was plagued with like some injuries, back injuries, towards the end of that year because I just did too damn much. And so my body was like, I'm not going into 2017 feeling like this. I'm about to break down on you. And so that's kind of what happened. My body kind of was like, And so I've been kind of like rehabbing my body ever since. And so that was one thing that really affected my mental health too, because I was so used to being physical. And when I didn't have that, it was very hard for me to adapt and kind of like find other ways to regulate my nervous system and regulate my body, because I wasn't able to run. I wasn't able to get in the gym because I could barely move because I was in so much pain. And so then from there, I found some other things that I enjoy that ties into physical fitness, right? And so, and it was a part of like rehabbing my body. And so I really had to learn, even through therapy, I had to learn that it is okay not to go to the gym today, Sean. It is okay to take care of your body. And maybe taking care of your body might be like getting an extra hour of sleep or eating something comfortable or, maybe watching a movie. And it doesn't necessarily have to incorporate the gym. So I really had to unlearn this idea of I have to go every single day. And so I had to kind of like find other ways to take care of my body. And so some of the things that I do, I go to massages like once a month. I go to this place. It's this place called Stretch Lab. I don't know what it's called near you, but it's pretty much a place where you go in, you lay out on a table, and somebody stretches you out. And so it's different than stretching for yourself because this person is able to move your body in ways that we're not necessarily able to move our body by ourselves. Or you may have pain and you're like, oh no, I ain't gonna do that. Or, but they work with your body to stretch out your body, stretch out your muscles. I know that some massage places have that too. They have like a stretch sessions that they incorporate within their business model. And so I also go see a chiropractor. I try to do that once a week. And then one thing that I do that I have just started to do to about a year ago, I was like, I need to start taking care of my hands and my feet better. And so I started to go and get a manicure and pedicure every other week. And so some of these things, you like, Sean, that's just too damn much. And, and I realized that also it's also a privilege because these things cost, right? And so I don't I feel like taking care of my mental health and my body is synonymous, right? There's no parting from it. And so with also within taking care of my physical health is also I take very seriously of like what I put into my body. What do I eat? Do I drink plenty of water? Not drinking too much alcohol, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm human. I'm a human being, and I do have cravings, and I sometimes I give into those things, and that's also a part of taking care of myself, right? Not limiting myself to what I want, but doing things that make me happy and make my body feel good in the moment. And so I realized when I started to really tap into therapy and tap into the things that made me happy and knowing that physical fitness and my health was very important to me. It started to make me feel better and I started to being able to unravel some of these feelings that was making me emotionally unsettled. And I also realized and this probably is not, I shouldn't say that this can't control it. Yes, we can control how what we eat and what we do. And I won't say that it may prolong your life, but it could possibly, right? There could be somebody who works out every single day and they don't live as long as somebody who doesn't, right? And but I also have this fear of when I get older, I want to be able to get out of the bed. I don't want to have to depend on someone to take me or move me around because I didn't take care of myself when I could. And I watched like my grandfather as he aged and before he died of not being able to really move, and that was because he didn't do anything, right? And so I have this fear of aging and not being able to do the things that I enjoy, which is maybe going out for a walk or going out for a hike. And now, don't get me wrong, when you get to a certain age, those just naturally things that you may not be able to do anymore. But I would love to be able to do it as long as possible. And so, as long as I can do it, I would like to do it. And so, taking care of my body is deeply connected to my mental health and emotional grounding. And so, the next thing that I do, this is specifically tied to emotional grounding, is I journal. Now, this has always been a suggestion of therapists in the past or like friends or loved ones, like, oh, you should journal. You should journal. I'm like, ah, whatever. I'm not about to journal. But I realized one day I was just like, you know what? I'm going to try it and see how that feels. It feels phenomenal. So if you haven't journaled, I want to be one of those people in your life that suggest that to you and say, hey, you should go journal because just being able to, you're not always able to talk to somebody all the time, or you might not have that one specific person that you can turn to when you need to get some stuff out, right? not everybody is a part of community. I also realized that, right? And so this is a way to get all of those things out that are on your mind. Maybe it's a poem. Maybe it's you want to talk about how your coworker pissed you off. Maybe you want to talk about a dream you had, or maybe you want to write about how good you feel today, and you just may not have anybody to tell that to. Journaling is perfect for that. And so that journaling has really helped me. I used to travel with my journal, but then I realized when I'm traveling, I ain't writing in it. So I tend to not be as structured with it, as because I feel like if I'm structured with, okay, today is Wednesday, I'm going to write in my journal, I won't do it. But if I just have it readily available, or have it sitting out on my nightstand, or sitting out where I can see it in my house, and hopefully ain't nobody touching it, right? Then I'm able to be like, you know what? I got some things on my mind. My therapy is not for another 4 days. I don't want to call my loved one and tell them, because I know they about sick of me. So I say, you know what? I need grounding right now in this moment. So I'm going to take my journal out and I'm going to write. And so sometimes I'm writing and I'm like 30 minutes go by and I done wrote 3 or 4 pages. And so and I realize, and I don't read it. That's another thing that helps me too, is like not reading it. Just get it out. Just say what you're going to say, write it out, talk it out with yourself, put it on that paper, close the book, and just leave it there. And I realize the growth and the healing. I may come back a year later and open up my journal and say, I want to read something that I wrote one day. And I read it and I'm like, whoa, I really grew from that. Like I really processed that, right? I really wrote that on the page and left it there. And I closed it up and forgot all about it and I moved through it. And so it has really been a big help for me to kind of like ground myself when there's nothing I can, and other things that I'm not doing. Maybe it's not a therapy day. Maybe I worked out already, or maybe it's not even a gym day. Maybe it's my rest day and I want to get some of these things out, my thoughts and ideas out. Journaling is so perfect for that. And that's one of the things that I have chosen to do. And this one, music. This one music has definitely helped me with emotional grounding and my mental health since I was a child. And so I keep, you know, talking about this, but as a child, I experienced a lot of verbal abuse and physical abuse. And my spot to go hide was in my room. And the one thing that I had, I'm going to age myself a bit, but I had a cassette player. And I used music. I can't even put into words how music has really, really helped me. It helped me to hide. It helped me to heal. It helped me to recover. It just music, and I love a lot of music. I always say, and I don't have no problems with saying this, right? But like, I love all kind of music. I listen to rock, metal, all the music. There's only two genres that I cannot do, and that's gospel and country music. I don't know. It's just, for one, I grew up in church. I was raised in church, and so I was in church 6 days a week. So if I never hear another gospel song, I am okay with I am okay with that. Church was always the only place that we were able to go as I was growing up. And so I've heard all of the songs and I just grew up to be like, you know what? That genre of music, I am burnt the hell out. And so no disrespect to folks who enjoy gospel music. No disrespect to folks who enjoy country music, but that's why we have different genres, right? You pick what's for you and leave the ones that's not for you. It's just like food. You have certain foods that you like, colors. You have certain colors that you like and certain colors that you don't like. And so music is the same, right? We have our certain genres that we resonate with and some we just don't. But when I was a child, I was, and this is a trigger for my mental health as an adult as I got older. And so I had to really work through a lot of these things. But I lived in fear. I lived in fear of my parents. And I was just fearful. I was fearful of people outside because I was so fearful of the people in my house. I was even more fearful when I got outside. And so music was my go to. And I used to, so it was two places that my mom would let me go. One was church, and the other was the library. And I used to get teased for being in the library because I used to spend a lot of time in the library. That was also reading was also my thing. I just didn't realize that till right now that I'm talking about it. Reading was also something that, and it's still good for my mental health. I love to read. And so that's probably why I do love to read, because those were the environments that I was allowed to be around. And so I kind of gravitated towards that. But I used to go to the library and I used to check out um, cassette tapes and CDs for folks who don't know what those are, right? Please Google that. But I used to listen to a lot of jazz and Duke Ellington. And so I used to check out these CDs, and I would literally go home and listen to their whole catalog. And so this was like a way of, there was fighting in my house. There was physical abuse in my house, fighting between parents and yelling, and I would just go in my room and I would hide and I would put my earphones on and I would just zone out. Sometimes I would cry over music and cry myself to sleep, or I would I would do things like write down all of the lyrics. So I would like know the lyrics so you could pause it, stop it, rewind it, pause it, rewind it. And I would write down every single word of a song. And that was also my way of processing through going through things that I was currently going through. And it makes me kind of emotional just thinking about how much I held on to music because it was the only thing that I had. And also another reason I want to add that another reason why I don't really listen to gospel is because when I was a kid, that was all I could listen to. I couldn't listen to anything else. It wasn't until I was about 16, 15 or 16 when I was able to get my own job and buy my own music that I was actually able to listen to things outside of what my mother was already playing in the house, her R&B, or her vinyl, what she was playing. I was able to choose and learn other genres of music that I liked, that I resonated with, that I wasn't able to check out at the library. And so even to this day, music is my soft landing spot. And so when I'm overwhelmed, when I'm frustrated, when I you will always find me with my earphones. And it's not necessarily a big earphones where I'm like trying to tune out the world. I might just have one in my ear where I can kind of I use it to recenter myself. And so I have like go-to songs, or I'll have a song that I like that's on repeat, that I'll just be playing in this moment. And I done played it for the last couple of weeks. And so that is a way that I recenter myself, and I have some sort of emotional grounding. And so the last thing that's one of my go-to practices for mental health is laughing. I love to laugh. Like I love to surround myself with people in my life that are funny and that can make me laugh. I have always loved to laugh. Like I listen to that was another thing too. Like when I was a kid, we didn't have like cable TV, or like I wasn't able to watch certain things. It was the Cosby Show, like Family Matters. For folks that know what Family Matters is, just shows like that. I wasn't able to watch anything that had a lot of cursing. I wasn't able to watch scary movies. I wasn't able to watch. uh, It was cartoons and Cosby Show and things like that that was like safe for kids. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I wasn't really exposed to like all of the things. So when I went to school, and people were like saying lines from movies that they saw, probably movies that they shouldn't have been watching either because we 10. So we were 10. So they shouldn't have probably been watching it either, right? But I grew up in a very strict house, and my mom, I was really sheltered. I was really sheltered. And So when I got a little bit older, I used to go stay at my aunt's all the time. And my aunt didn't care what I watched. She let me watch everything. And so that's how I found that I love scary movies. That's how I found that I love stand-up comedy. And so I was able to start to develop who I was as a person, my likes and my joys, and not because somebody else was telling me, like my mom, like not because she was telling me this is what I like and this is what I can watch, but I was starting to explore who I was and what I like. And so laughing is just one of those things. You think of laughter and joy. And so I'm thinking like laughter really brings me joy. If I could laugh every day, all day, yo, my emotional health would be out of the roof, off the roof. So uh it just I love to laugh. I love a good joke. I love comedies. I love stand-up comedies. I love to laugh. And so laughing has always been my way to cure anything that I'm going through. If I know I have somebody in my life that's funny, I've always dated people that are funny that can make me laugh. If I have that one person that I can call and be like, I know I'm gonna say this to this person, they gonna say something to make me laugh. And so laughter is and it's good for the soul. They said it's food for the soul, laughter. And so I definitely agree. And what so I want to know, share your tools of peace and wellness with me in the comments below. What are some of your go-to things that you do for your mental health and for your emotional grounding? What are some things that you enjoy? What are some things that helps recenter you and bring you back? So thank you for tuning in to day 9 of this 30-day engagement. Once again, my name is Shawn Aaron, he, him, his, and I'll see you tomorrow.